I love drinking. I love smoking. I love the way in which a bartender can concoct the perfect drink while simultaneously breaking down a customer's barriers in the form of thoughtful conversation while they stand behind their bar top, seemingly omnipotent to anything within their domain, resulting in what could be called the Glass of God. I also love talking about anime. And before we get into this one, I'd like to remind you that I am Gorlok and I do anime. Don't forget to let me know what you guys think of the video down below, as well as subscribe for more Gorlok content. Let's get right into this. As you may have guessed, today we're talking about Bartender Glass of God. The story focuses on two businesswomen working in a high-level hotel known as Cardinal. Miwa and Yukari have been tasked with finding a bartender capable of crafting what some would call the Glass of God. Per the owner's request, also Miwa's grandfather. Talk about nepotism, am I right? And before we go any farther, I do want to ask you this question. What is the purpose of a bar? Is it a place to get crunked? How about a place to have some goofy gaffes with the pals? Possibly a getaway from the harsh realities of the world. Or maybe it's the first place you stop in when you arrive at a new country. All of these might be the case, but have you looked at it from the bartender's perspective? These are all things you'll be wondering when you turn on the first episode of this show. And honestly, I think that's what makes an anime like this so special. Your perception of reality is shifted into a higher form of thinking, making every future experience within the subject just a little bit different. Similar to an anime like Free, Hanabado, Yuri on Ice, Hajime no Ippo, or really any sports anime, activities you might know of but you don't really think too hard about. Ryu Sasakua is the key to this learning experience. Well, technically, Araki Joe, who originally made the manga back in 2004, which was then adapted into anime in 2006, and then recreated in 2024 in the form of Bartender Glass of God. Whether you start with the classic or the remake, the stories are basically the same, but I will say this, the original is a little bit more stylistic and on the nose, especially about the mystery of Eden Hall, the bar our main character resides in. Regardless, the message is still there. After stumbling into Eden Hall, the girls find out that this goofy-ass fella that they found earlier was also a pretty good bartender. And as soon as they taste his drinks, they don't hesitate to offer him the job. And Ryu may be the perfect bartender for this gig, but he humbly refuses the offer. And his reasoning for not taking the job in the first episode was that he's afraid of heights. However, after some research on the dude, they found out that he used to work at a hotel out in France, so he may have been pulling a fast one on the ladies. This leads to the women continuously pursuing him like he's fucking Vash the Stampede. Almost every early episode feels like a new challenge for Ryu, mostly thanks to the businesswoman and all the bullshit that he has to put up with, but I guess that's kind of the norm, regardless for a bartender. On top of that, new visitors come in every single day carrying all sorts of baggage. However, once they step foot into Eden Hall, Ryu's already one step ahead of the game, studying every mannerism of his new visitor. And this is just one responsibility of a speakeasy bartender. Another would be understanding how to create every single drink known to man, as well as having the ability to make every single visitor feel at home. I mean, have you ever actually thought of the word bartender? The first thing you or Google would think would be someone who simply serves drinks. However, the show takes it a step deeper. Get this, the bar is a perch for the person behind it. On the other side is someone relying on them to make them the perfect drink, while also easing their pain and being tender-hearted or kind. Hence the word bartender. Did I say this show is simply about being a bartender? Well, it's actually about being the best bartender. Hence the name Glass of God. And it's kind of stated in the first episode because he really does make some pretty stellar drinks. He notices the pain and stress someone's had throughout the day, and by dissecting details of every new customer, a businesswoman with a missing button, a lawyer with a heavy briefcase, even an old man looking to relive the feeling he once had when drinking his late friend's drinks. The right drink really can make the stress go away, apparently. And he even has crazy good knowledge of all of the history behind these drinks, and I think that's super interesting. Last time I asked a bartender about a drink, they simply shook their head and said, I have no idea. And honestly, it's not what I want out of my bartender. Now, does this mean that Ryu is perfect every single time? No, not every time, but that's what makes his character somewhat relatable. And that's a big somewhat, because I don't think I've met anybody like this dude. I mean, he doesn't even know how to use his phone. but he knows how to ease people's souls, so that's quite amazing. Is this guy Jesus Christ? No lie, this show would have been good enough if it just stuck to the bar with this dude making drinks for every single one of his customers. I love that part of the show. However, we do get out and about sometimes, and that actually helps the show immensely. Some of these places consist of Hotel 1, Hotel 2, Hotel 3, and I'm pretty sure, oh yeah, Hotel 4. Okay, maybe that's a little bit of an exaggeration. You do get to see some cool landmarks, but it does seem like there is a lot of hotel bars, which I'm not against, but I'll take voodoo any day of the week, you know what I'm saying? Give me a dastardly martini, please. Proceeds to put 3 shots of vodka in just a glass. And although Ryu's kind of the main character, we pretty much are in the shoes of Miwa. And through her eyes, we see Ryu make all sorts of awesome drinks. A grasshopper, classic martini, sidecar, Alexander, Manhattan, red eye. I mean, the list goes on and on. I've never even heard about a majority of these drinks, but I'm pretty sure you can take the knowledge from this show and bring it to your local bar or speakeasy. On top of that, we see the friendships grow between the two, and that extends to some of the other characters and bartenders in the area, leading to a more traditional anime style with a lot of different characters we get to learn some about. And once you think you've had enough of the isolation within Eden Hall, the show does something unspeakable. Something the show might not even be capable of. Something you wouldn't even fathom. That's right. A motherfucking field trip episode. Oh, and there's also somewhat of like a tournament arc just thrown in there throughout the show. And honestly, I wish that this show consisted solely about this tournament arc and Ryu and his journey through it. Okay, camera's about to die. We're gonna freaking speed run through the rest of this. All right, we're gonna talk about some of the characters. Learning from my past videos, I've understood to not talk too much about the main characters of the show because I already did it earlier on in the episode. So I won't spend too much time breaking him down.
Oh my God, bro.
Oh,
He also doesn't know how to work a fucking phone. I already told you that earlier. I'll move on to the next. But before I do that, he's a 10 out of 10. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this dude. Unlike most anime where we're put in the shoes of the main character, specifically a male, in this anime, we're actually in the shoes of a woman named Miwa. A dedicated worker, but also a curious cat. And let's be honest, we're all kind of shipping her with Ryu. It's just not gonna happen. At the end of the day, she's strictly business and only really focuses on her work. Outside of her backstory, there's not too much to really talk about except for the fact that she's a straight up mood and honestly kind of chill like that. So I'll give her a 7 out of 10. Yukari is the closest thing to comedic relief that we get, and within the calming vibes this show gives off, we actually get one of the more real characters out of her. Business is definitely important, but at the same time, she doesn't stress the small stuff, and on top of that, she's also kind of a mood herself. 7 out of 10. Taizo is the owner of Hotel Cardinal. He's also one of the first that really makes Ryu feel a little bit more human when it comes to being behind the bar, when he's not really pleased with the drink that he's made. He seems like a driven old man, and at the same time, he is pretty cool, so for that, I'll give him an 8 out of 10. We also meet several other bartenders throughout the show with their own backstories. We get a cool one, a cold one, a fresh one, and a seasoned one. These characters all differ in their own way, so I'm not going to sweat the small stuff. Similar to Yukari, and I'm just gonna say, go and watch the show. Now we get to the most underwhelming part of the show. It's not all bad, but it's pretty consistently just eh. The show's at its best whenever the bartenders are shaking shit, making shit, or serving shit. The characters look fine, but just kind of bland, and the show doesn't really capture that fairy-like vibe the original had going for it, and I think the main thing this show really is missing is just some visual character. I'd even say the sequences when the bartenders are actually working would make up for it, but there's just not enough of it. And I know it's a show that's all about bartending, and in the first few episodes you do get a lot, but it still doesn't seem like it's enough. The music is relaxing and the sound design is extremely calming. You still feel the vibes the show is going for, but it's less visual and more of what's actually being said, like how people may need a specific drink at a specific time, as well as the idea of a bar in the first place, including the drinks themselves and the history each drink can hold within its beautiful liquid. Match the visuals from the OG in this one, and you may have yourself a better grade, but I'm just gonna give it a 5 flat. Overall, the show is a good change of pace for most anime viewers. Nothing supernatural, nothing magical, and no world hopping. just an in-depth analysis of what it takes to wield the Glass of God, or simply a look behind the bar top. Although the art isn't the best, the sound design and calming story really do make up for it. You may also learn a thing or two about the drinks that you buy next time you step foot into a speakeasy. You may also start picking up on things you didn't before, thanks to the subtle hints the show leaves on every new visitor to Eden Hall. Most types of shows that focus on a simple subject really make it out to be the whole reason that everybody exists in the first place. And this show does that to an extent, but at least it's not at a laughable amount. Regardless, I still enjoyed the show way more than I thought it would. It's no juggernaut that'll have you starstruck, and you won't be laughing out loud either. Just simply chill vibes and interesting subjects, and the occasional double pump at the nostril. Heck, I usually just go to a bar to get a beer or something like that. Next time I'll ask for something I need and see if I'll ever find the Glass of God myself. 8 out of 10. So, have you stepped foot into the very heavy door that leads to Eden Hall? If not, and have an interest in the art of bartending, or just need a change of pace, then I highly suggest this show to you. Let me know if this show tickles your fancy down below in the comments, and don't forget to leave a tip before you leave.